Hello! Welcome to
Hello.
Wingin' It, Wingers. How is everybody doing today?
I'm doing great since I can
Okay?
answer back to you.
Yeah, Sally is a winger, so she counts.
It counts.
I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. My cold is better, a little bit.
Hooray! I'm so glad.
I don't
That
I don't
sounded
sound like
sarcastic, but it's not because I know that was an ongoing issue.
I
I'm
still
genuinely glad.
it's an ongoing tissue. Get it?
Yep, I get it.
Welcome to Wingin' It, the West Wing podcast. We are full of bad puns, but lots of love for the West Wing, and we're here to talk about season 2, episode 3, which is Midterms.
Yeah, which is a good episode. It has one of my favorite moments, which we'll get to, and I did not know that it had it, so I'm excited.
Good.
I'm excited.
I'm excited that you're excited. I'm excited.
Great.
For all sorts of things. And should we now listen, we've gotten different reviews about us singing or not, but I think that we should sing today.
I think so too. There's always that little button that says 15 seconds forward, so that's fine. We'll do it for the people who love it, and people who don't, I don't know. We're genuinely sorry.
Listen, it's not an easy song. It's like the national anthem. It's not. There's so many octaves. It's like a sweeping. This is not Cheers or Gilmore Girls. It's not the same. All right.
You're right. I agree wholeheartly.
There you go. Hey, we didn't even talk about it, but we should probably recap this with a TikTok. Should we do a joint talk?
Sure.
Tag team?
That's new. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's go for it. There's a good bit going on in this episode.
There's a rhythm, and we're going with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first episode after all of the feelings have been drained from our bodies from the first 2 episodes of this season in The Shadow of Two Gunmen.
Uh-huh. Well,
so they basically had to give us one that was not quite so traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And they did jump back in. There's a good number of storylines. Even before, right before the credits play in our little intros time, we get, several storylines thrown at us. So we're really, Sorkin's like, all right, guys, we're jumping back in. Hardcore, let's go. Hit the ground running kind of style.
Time to walk and talk.
Yeah.
So what really happens, in case you haven't recently rewatched this like we have, so the approval rating is up to 81%, I believe, even though they think those numbers are soft and it could be less. So the main point of contention is how they're going to use this advantage. Are they going to use it to try to get some aggressive things done, or does that look like they're, just taking advantage of people's pity for them? But hey, they were shot at. This is a big deal. This is a big freaking deal.
It is. We also have Charlie dealing with the fallout of the shooting. We have a good, probably our most decent Charlie storyline yet. I mean, we've heard some of his background, but Charlie's in a good bit of this episode sort of dealing with stuff, which I like. So we've got that going on. And Bartlett is paying close attention to a school board race.
Yeah.
Of the first guy he beat in his first congressional campaign is now running for school board. Bartlett's paying attention to that. I don't know. Everybody's kind of dealing with their own stuff.
Yeah.
In the fallout of the shooting and just day-to-day business, Toby's real big on, you were talking about, do we use this approval rating? That's a big thing for Toby. He's sort of dealing with that and hand in hand with the fallout of the shooting, which we can talk about. So, yeah. Oh, Sam's friend Tom is the White House wants him to run for Congress also. So,
yeah.
I think those are the big, storylines. But, of course, there's tons to talk about with it.
Yeah. There's not a ton... I don't know. Not a ton that happened.
It feels very busy because there are other things going on. The Bureau of Labor says something is I can't exactly remember, but the CPI has increased or decreased or something. The something going on with the HUD secretary. Josh is talking about physicists. There's a lot of pretty technical storylines going on, especially right at the beginning. So
And
it
I
feels
didn't
very
catch...
fast-paced and going.
It does feel very fast-paced. I didn't catch
Yeah.
most of them because I did not have the subtitles on. I'm lucky I had my eyeballs on.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of good little bits of dialogue throughout the
Mm-hmm.
episode from everybody. I like
Yeah.
at the beginning where it starts off, and CJ's kind of carrying things in
Uh-huh.
terms of, like, she's interacting with a lot of different people, and I feel like she's the only rational one in this episode for the most part. Like, everybody else is really still dealing with this traumatic thing that happened, which is understandable, but, like, she's the only one who's kind of saying, hey guys, does anybody think that there's something going on that we need to pay attention to? And everyone's just mad or neurotically obsessed with things, and I feel like CJ's the only
She's very,
rational
like,
one.
back to business. Yeah, she's very focused on what she has to do. She's getting ready for a press briefing, and she's very just business only in this episode, in this intro specifically, at least. She's sort of being the level-headed one throughout the episode, too. Even talking to the president, so...
Josh is at home still recovering, and and I mean, there's a funny bit about, like, Josh is a control freak, obviously. That's how he gets things done. And so it's hard for him to be at home and telling her to do things for her briefing. And she says psychics instead of physicists, which that's an easy mistake. I mean, she did it on purpose just to make Josh mad, but it was cute. I liked it.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised they didn't use this Josh thing a little bit more, because I loved seeing him in, the control freak. He's calling from home. He's sort of wanting to micromanage. It would have been fun to see it a little bit more, even, because we only see it a couple brief moments. I guess I just miss Josh. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's true.
He was a little absent when he came at the end of the episode. That was actually one of my notes. Like, he came in and came out on his porch and was talking. And one of my notes was, I really miss Josh. Like, I didn't even, I didn't realize until he was there talking, but I missed him.
I know. I feel like they had to... is this the only... Sorry, let's say that again. This episode spans the course of several weeks. And I feel like this covers the most amount of time that we've seen in one episode in the whole series.
It covers a lot of time. And I wonder if that was to help deal with the fallout of the shooting, you think? I would imagine that it has to do with... It would have been really difficult, not really difficult, because Sorkin can pretty much do whatever he wants, but it would have been a very different storyline to be in the White House with these people literally in like the weeks after and spend like entire episodes there. It would have been, I guess, like emotionally we're ready to move on and be back to business and sort of let people start to heal, if that makes sense, instead of just being stuck in this like, oh man, we all just got shot at kind of mode.
Also, I think practically, in terms of, like, getting Josh back into the series,
I
think there's no way they could have just jumped back in. He would have been out for several, like, weeks.
Yeah,
several
that's
weeks
very true.
If they had gone in real time. So it feels like it served that sort of function as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, there's so many great little tidbits.
Tiny note, I love when CJ calls him Joshua. I like when anybody calls him Joshua. But CJ does it often, and I like that.
Yeah.
So, it's just like personal and cute. They're buds. They're all BFFs.
CJ has a fun little walk and talk with Sam at the beginning, and she says, "Holy interrupt us, Batman." And then, like, Sam starts trying to do jokes with her, too, and she didn't get it. And he's like, "I was doing a joke, too. You work alone?" Like, it's just... Sam! I just love Sam so much. I don't know.
I do. Sam that was a fun joke. But speaking of jokes, at some point, Leo is on the phone with Josh. Oh, I think it's when they're telling Sam about his friend Tom, and we'll come back to that. But Josh is on the phone, and Leo says, "How did that bullet not kill you?" And it's just too soon for me. It's too soon for that kind of joke. I mean, I guess it's been months in the actual thing, but like, not okay. Not okay, Leo. It's not okay.
On the same token, I don't know what the expression is, but when Charlie is talking to Mr. McIntosh, who comes to work on Mrs. Landingham's computer.
Yeah.
And she's absent from this whole episode. It's weird. When he's talking to Mr. McIntosh, later in the episode, he said, "Oh, hey, you're the guy who almost got the president shot."
Right?
Or you are the guy who got the president
right?
shot. And I was like, that's the most insensitive thing you can say to someone ever.
Right. Like, I'm sure Charlie feels bad about this already. I didn't like that either, yeah. Because I liked that guy and his son. That was a cool little storyline, a cool little device they used to sort of get to Charlie. And I liked that. And then he said that, and I was like, dude.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, Charlie took it in stride. He made a comment about, yeah, that's going to look good on my resume. But we know that Charlie is really struggling with it. So we're kind of like, hey, back up off our Charlie, okay?
Yeah. But then I was also thinking about that, him saying it'll look good on my resume. But, like, where... You can go anywhere you want from the White House. That's how I feel. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
You don't pretty much have to worry about your resume ever again, I think. Unless you get, like, fired from the White House, but...
Like, yeah, maybe so. I wouldn't
worry about that, Charlie.
Not that high up, you know?
We're still climbing that corporate ladder. Rung by ever-loving rung.
I don't know that I'm climbing in that direction, but... yeah, I wouldn't know. I guess you'd go anywhere. But so 2 jokes that I was kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, easy, guys. Easy.
Yeah, easy. Whoa.
There was also a really great little bit with Toby and Donna where she's like, you know, she's trying to protect Josh and try to keep too many people from going to see him. And Toby gets on this kick where he's like, I really got to talk to Josh. And then she starts saying some Yiddish words. And he's like, don't bring Yiddish if you don't know what you're doing. And she's like, you know what word should be Yiddish, but isn't spatula? Also far-fetched. I mean, I just loved the whole thing.
It's a very Donna-esque. It's just right up her alley, like that she would say that. I thought that whole interaction was very fun. And I like that Donna's being protective of Josh, of course. Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't expect anything else, but, you know, it's still fun to see. She's taking care of him. So.
Yes. And I agree. That's something I would have said, that spatula should be Yiddish too. I think. Yeah. It fits in. So, also, I love that everybody always asks Sam for tours. Like, I don't think any of the other staffers get asked to give tours ever. It's always Sam, and he never knows anything.
Yeah, he's like, this is the mural room, but it's just, this is what it is. It's the mural room. I thought that was fun, too. This storyline is interesting as well with Tom and his wife. So Sam has a friend who they went to law school together at Duke, which I don't think I knew that Sam went to Duke. But that's beside the point. That's just me not paying attention, I guess. But
come on, Sally.
Yeah, sorry, guys. But anyway, they went to law school together, and now they want him, they being like the Democratic Party, wants him to run for this congressional seat. And then they find out some not so good stuff about him. And the first one being that as a prosecutor, he liked all-white juries for the black defendants. And the second one being that he was in an all-white fraternity. And so then they sort of withdraw. He still runs for Congress, but they sort of back off and withdraw they don't support him, so he loses. And Sam's not happy about it.
And Sam promised him the support. Right. He was the one who got him to run. Yeah.
And Sam's really not happy about it. And I like that. I like this storyline of Sam. It just backs up his character because we've seen him with this before, feeling very like that he feels like this is wrong. He feels like ethically, it's sort of the same storyline of like Lori, that like, you know, like, I don't care how it's going to look. I care how it actually is. And this is wrong. And I'm upset about it. And I think that's how he's feeling here too.
Yeah.
And that guy then went on to be on Desperate Housewives, which I didn't watch, but I just know that
really?
he was on it. Yeah. I just remember from watching other TV at that time, seeing previews and stuff for it, and he was on there.
We have some other fun guest stars on the next episode as well.
Yeah,
so can't wait to talk about that. Also, other things in this episode is when Bartlett talks to CJ. And Bartlett, like we said, is obsessed with this school board race that's happening in New Hampshire, I believe.
Yes.
And it's it's kind of funny. And Bartlett goes to make campaign calls, like for donations, or I'm kind of confused. Apparently, you can't make campaign calls from government property, you know.
Yeah.
So he goes to the residence, which is government property, but whatever. And
Right.
so he's on hold, or he thinks he's on hold, and CJ comes to see him, and he's just being obsessed about it. And I think we should just play the audio clip because it's quite delightful.
Sure.
46%.
Yes, sir.
The guy is polling at 46%.
I didn't think they had polling data on people running for seats on the Board of Education.
They don't. I had to have our guys do it.
Sir, do you think you're becoming obsessed with this race?
He's polling at 46%. He's not a joke. He's polling inside the margin.
In a race for the Board of Education in a school district that has 43 kids.
It has 1,100 kids. And you don't take these people seriously because they don't get anywhere nationally, but they don't have to. All they have to do is bit by little bit get themselves on the boards of education and city councils, because that's where all the governing that really matters to anybody really happens.
We do a little governing here, Mr. President.
I'm on hold with a guy whose name I've got on an index card. How much governing do you think is going on around here today? And can you believe I'm on hold?
You're not, sir. You finished the call.
I did.
Yes, sir.
How'd it go?
Very well.
So there you go.
Yeah.
She's like, we do a little bit of governing here, Mr. President.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
I love that he thinks he's on
CJ,
hold.
but it's CJ again being sort of, she's like calm and cool and collected. Like she's giving him a hard time, but she's not getting, she's level-headed in this episode. Even again, Bartlett calls her back later to talk about it, and she's just like, no, no, Mr. President. But speaking of him making those calls, we have a moment where Charlie snaps at the president.
Yeah. Ooh, yikes. And then Bartlett retaliates.
Yeah,
Ugh, double yikes.
It's the first time we've seen intensity between them in the negative way.
Don't like it.
It was. I mean, I didn't like it, but like I liked it in like in the sense that like it made a good storyline. So yeah, I thought that was pretty intense, and that's our big sign that we already know something's off with Charlie. But when that happens, we're like, whoa, bud. You just snapped at the president.
Yeah, I mean, you never. He's
No.
in a real. He's not in an uptown funk. He's in a downtown funk in a bad way.
He's not doing so good. And then he sees little Jeffrey in the Roosevelt room, and that's cute, which leads us to the later storyline. That Jeffrey, I guess, just reminds him of him when he was little. His mom worked nights. Oh, and then we find out, as if we weren't feeling it bad enough for Charlie, we find out that his mom was only on the shift she was on because he asked her to switch.
Oh,
which, like,
gosh.
what's the deal with Sorkin? Is Sorkin having, like,
Just make it
characters
worse.
who are, like, semi-responsible for other people's deaths, you know?
Yeah.
Like Josh.
Yes. Well, we
know?
haven't gotten to that yet, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we've heard Josh's sister's background.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we have. We for sure have.
We have? That's in season 1?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive we have talked about it. Because remember we talked about the two
We talked
psychiatrists
about the
named
therapist.
Stanley. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Man,
it's hard to remember when is what. But
it's all a blur.
so we already have Josh's storyline. So it's heavy stuff to have people feel responsible for their family members' deaths.
Yeah, it's so real. There's so much going on. Oh, yeah.
It's very heavy. So, like, not only is he feels bad because he got the president shot, he feels bad because he got his mom shot. Like, once again, let's pile it on.
Speaking of piling it on and intense scenes, let's just go ahead and talk about Janet Jacobs and that whole thing. Because honestly, this is not my favorite episode by any stretch of the imagination. So I was just kind of like, this is all right. There's some funny lines, but like, it's not a rewatcher for me. But then when I saw Janet Jacobs in this meeting in the Roosevelt room, was it? And then I got excited because everybody, all wingers, y'all know what this episode is, right?
Yes. It wasn't it was just in like a ballroom. It was just in like a,
was
it was not in the, it was just in like the main, I don't know what it is. It's the same place.
Foyer.
Other things are shot there too. I was about to say a lot of things, but it's in like a foyer or like a separate room where they have like parties and stuff, I guess.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But
I need a map.
yeah, as soon as we see her for like a second before we get the little spiel, as soon as I saw her come on screen, I was like, oh my God, this is the best ever. I was the same way. I was kind of like, whatever, like, you know, like, okay, this episode, it's coming off the heels of 3 great episodes. So this one's gonna have a hard time. And then that part came on and I was like, oh man, here it comes.
Yeah.
It's just so fun. So, I mean, the West Wingers know this scene, but just as a recap, this is a like talk show, like radio gathering. They're having all these talk show hosts come, and Jenna Jacobs, Dr. Jenna Jacobs, is
Doctor of Literature, Jenna Jacobs.
Yeah, she's a doctor of literature, which is
fine.
Yeah, which
hey,
is
we
fine.
we like people who have that, but just
absolutely more power to you, but not her. So not Dr. Bartlett, President Bartlett comes in and sees her in the crowd, and this is one of my favorite things about it is that like once he like spots her and knows that it's her, he like can't concentrate on his giving his speech. You can see this like internal debate in his head of like, do I say something? I have to say something. Should I say something? It's so great.
It's so distracting to him. He like gets off track a couple times.
Yeah, even before the great monologue, that part is just great where he's like he's still trying to stay on track, and then finally he just gives up and is like, there's no way.
Ooh, so he serves it up. I mean, we're not going to get into the actual debate itself about all
right.
Yeah.
No, but I do appreciate that this is another example again where they are talking religion, and Bartlett can speak about it intellectually and not in a sort of, like, he's not talking down about it. Like, Bartlett's a very religious man himself.
Right, yeah.
And so that makes the scene even more interesting because he sort of feels betrayed that other people are, I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic because he's Catholic and he's very devout, and that brings a whole different level to this kind of conversation because it's something he values as well. And then he sort of sees people dragging it through the mud, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And then it also just talks about her attitude towards things, because the thing is that she's still sitting down when everybody's standing, which that's strange, right?
That's just weird. The capper. I mean, that's the big cherry on top for me.
It's the attitude.
Bartlett his whole speech is great, but that last line when he says, in this building, when the president stands, nobody sits. When he delivers that line, you're just like, okay, like goosebump style. Like, just, it's unreal how powerful that scene is. He's so smart, and the delivery is so perfect that it just, golly. Martin Sheen, man. Jeez.
I mean, it's well written, but he served it up. Perfectly.
He serves it up perfectly.
Also, I read on West Wing Wikipedia about this episode that when he says that, and as he's rebuking her for sitting while everybody else is standing, there's a woman in the background that you can see still sitting at a table.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's probably just an extra or something. I have no idea. I'd have to confirm that, West Wing Wiki, though I trust you.
I read in the next episode, I think, or some episode very close to this episode, there's a scene where the president gets up, and I think it was Toby and Sam stay seated, and that they thought that was in one of those little trivia things too, but I don't know exactly when it was, so, I don't know. But I just, the whole speech is great. He talks about Leo working on the Sabbath. He talks about selling Zoe. Like, everything about it is just awesome. And something that's interesting to me is that I don't know if listeners have ever heard like Southern Baptist preacher, just a typical like pastor style sermons, but there's a delivery sometimes that Bartlett gives that sounds very like like the way he's speaking. Hopefully some people will know like what I'm talking about, and I always wonder if he is doing that on purpose. That sometimes the way he delivers lines sounds very much like a pastor.
Like preaching?
And not in like not in like a preachy, like fire and brimstone kind of way, but there's a certain delivery that some pastors have, and I think that he has it, and I would be interested to know if he did that on purpose, because he would have been raised in the Catholic Church hearing sermons, and so I wonder if that's something he took into consideration. Yeah. But I just mean of the way that sermons are delivered in general.
Yeah, it might just be the presidential voice as well, which we know he has. Yeah. So, and then after he says that nobody sits, Sam walks up and like takes a crab puff from her, and I'm just like, Sam, really? Sam.
I did not like that. That's the only part of the whole scene I don't like. It really sucks because it would have been perfect for me if he took the whole plate. If he had said, like in like a you don't get to have any crab puffs kind of way. But he just took one. So like that was like, it was just like, Sam, you just ruined this like intense moment. I know.
But there's something about it that's like punctuation though. Like you kind of just, when you're so casual after something like that, it just shows how like cool and collected you are, and it's kind of like an extra. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about it to me felt like he walked up and like then wasn't sure what to say, so he just took a crab puff. It was, I don't know. It just it could have been better. Now I'm just being nitpicky, but
there was another awkward moment with Charlie and Zoe finally make up, and Leo comes out to see them. And Charlie says that they're going out, and Leo says, "You're taking extra protection, right?" And Charlie's like, Leo." No. And Leo said, "I mean Secret Service protection, but thank you for loading me up with that visual." Like,
so awkward. That scene Leo could have just not happened. No, Charlie.
Not acknowledged.
I blame Charlie. How would Charlie think that's what he's talking about? I'm blaming Charlie on this one. Like, Charlie, that is clearly not what he's saying. Use your brain. Oh, that was just so cringeworthy. Speaking of cringeworthy, I think there's sort of a divide about this end scene on the doorsteps amongst the fandom.
Josh's pajamas?
No, Josh's pajamas are magnificent.
Cringeworthy.
But there's, I think people are divided on whether it is kind of cringeworthy, this scene, where they literally all go around and say, God bless America.
Yeah, no, I cringed. No.
Because you cringed? Is that what you said?
Yeah. No, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
it was it was like a less successful "I serve at the pleasure of the president" moment. Yes. And I wrote that it was kind of like they were trying to do a Friends ending to a West Wing episode.
Yeah, it just didn't feel genuine to me, and we all know how easily swayed I am towards patriotism, that like the smallest moments in this show I'm like swelling with American pride. So this should have been one of them, but it just came across as too cheesy, which is sad because everything else leading up to it was awesome, with Josh's pajamas and he says like,
he's an
all this time I've been working with you, did you also think I was playing power forward for the Cleveland Cavaliers? And Donna says, he talks about being an outdoorsman, and Donna's like, I'd let you outside. I told you I'd let you outside if you stopped talking about being an outdoorsman and stopped talking about nuclear physics.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, there are little moments here and there throughout the episode that are enjoyable, which I think bolster it up in general. Again, it's not really a re-watcher for me, but I definitely didn't like the ending.
I can rewatch the Jenna Jacobs clip on YouTube over and over and over, but the episode as a whole isn't a rewatcher for me. I agree.
Also, and I maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention, but there's a scene where Josh calls in, and I think he's talking to CJ, possibly, and he's like really sweaty. And I'm like, why is Josh so sweaty? Maybe he was doing like physical therapy or something.
Was it in the beginning?
No, not in the very beginning. It's like halfway through. Oh, you know what? I think it's when he's talking with Leo and they're telling Sam that that the dude can't run. But he was like really sweaty. It was very confusing.
I don't think I noticed. There's also, we should talk about Toby and his sort of, he's on like a, I don't want to say tirade, but he's on a mission to just like lock up every hate group. I mean, he's on a mission to...
He wants justice.
Yeah, he wants justice for sure. And I really like how they do this because you can tell he's angry, and or we as the audience can tell he's angry, and we as the audience can tell it's like a direct result of the shooting, obviously, and everybody else around him too can tell as well. But it's not like so overdone that he's like crazy backlash against the shooting. It doesn't feel like too much for me. I just think it's really, really good.
Yeah, and he finally lets it out.
Yeah.
And you're like, thank you. You needed that. And it was, it was so good. Mm-hmm. He's like, yes, I do. Yes, I want to lock everybody up with a white sheet or whatever.
Yeah. And he and the president have a great moment where they're talking about like why the shooting was so tough. Like, Toby says, like, I've seen shootings before, and the president said something about it being a lynching. Like, it was just, that scene, this is another of, like, Toby's, these moments that I just love. I just love these moments where he and the president have genuine heart-to-hearts, and we see this sort of wounded Toby. I like that so much. I can't get enough of those kind of scenes. And also, it doesn't hurt that at the beginning they're talking about the cream egg thing, which that was pretty great.
Egg cream. Yeah.
Yeah, egg cream.
That was made in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Toby's like, there are some things that are good that are not from New England, Mr. President.
And he says, Toby, don't you ever let me hear you say that again.
And also, a big shout out to, we have Ed and Larry in this episode. Well, Ed and Larry. So, yay! I always like when they're on there. I feel like it adds.
I do too. I was thinking about this in general, that Sorkin does, and I think I've mentioned this before too, that he does a good job of like making you care about characters even that aren't there as much as all the other characters. Like he can make you care about characters when they're on the screen for like 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And I think that's how we feel about all the sort of secondary, like we have our main team and then we have the secondary characters like Donna and Margaret and Carol and Ed and Larry and that whole group. But like we love them too, He does a great job of that.
They're all such good actors that like, even though you only see them every now and then, you still feel like, oh, I know who they are,
Yeah, you feel like they're your friends too. Exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, hooray!
I like that a lot.
Hooray for Ed and Larry. Peter James Smith. Yeah. Shout out as Ed.
So, yeah, I like that. It was a little odd. You mentioned this earlier. It was a little odd that Miss Landingham was absent and they talked about her so much. I mean, I guess they were just using that to get the software guy in there, but that felt a little like, wait, where's Miss Landingham, really?
Yeah, bring her back now. She hasn't refused cookies from anyone in this episode. Yeah. And they all need them. They all need cookies, Mrs. Landingham.
All need a cookie, that's for sure.
Heavens to Betsy.
So, I think that's kind of it. Except, I did want to touch on, with Toby's storyline, he and CJ have good scenes where they sort of go at it and are debating about who to lock up. And I did like that a lot in this one. So I just at least wanted to give a shout out to that because they did great in those scenes.
Yeah, I always love a CJ and Toby scene as well. I mean, Toby and pretty much anyone. So,
yeah.
There you go. Well, shall we pick an MVP?
Yes, we should. I don't know who.
I feel like...
Who's yours?
I think Bartlett for this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be Bartlett. Just for that scene. Just for that.
Yes.
The one scene.
If for nothing else, for that scene.
Yeah. And the scene with Toby I thought was great too. So Bartlett, I'll second that vote.
Hooray! We are going to tally up our votes. We already tallied up who won for season 1, but we'll have to think of a prize for them and get it to them somehow. I'll work on it.
Works for me.
Cool. All right. Well, that's episode 3 of season 2, the midterms, and or just midterms. And we will see you guys in episode 4.
Yep. Which is in this White House?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes, it is.
All right. Mm-hmm. Meet a new fun character. Okay.
Oh, we didn't announce who our winner was of our West Wing swag.
Oh, yeah. Our West Wing iTunes review podcast thingy. The winner was, I don't actually know how to say the name, but I think it was...
Jetters?
Jetters? Jetterzz.
What does that mean?
I'm not totally sure, but whoever you are, you have won. So give us a shout out. You can find us on Twitter at Wingin It Pod with no G, Wingin. itpod. And you can email us at TheWestWingPodcast@gmail.com.
And we'll get you some of your West Wing swag. Also, we love
Yep.
hearing from you guys. Feel free to email us anytime.
Yeah.
Things that we missed, things that you liked, how
We've gotten a
your
lot
day
of
is
notes
going.
about me not having seen so much stuff. I haven't seen The American President. I'm about to start watching Sports Night. So just know, guys, I know y'all are going to shout out about that. I'm on it.
Sallie's
Doing
got a
my
long
homework.
list of things to do. So,
Yeah. So,
but next up, we'll see you in episode 4.
Bye.